Imelda Marcos was born in 1929 in the Philippines, in a small and struggling family. No one imagined that this quiet girl would one day become one of the most controversial women in modern history. Her early childhood was marked by poverty. She had few toys, few clothes, and even fewer opportunities. But she carried a striking beauty that many believed could open doors for her in the future. When her mother passed away, Imelda felt both the weight of loss and the urgency to rise above her circumstances. She moved to Manila, hoping for a better life and a chance to be seen. In Manila, her beauty quickly became her greatest asset. She entered beauty contests, appeared in society events, and gained attention from powerful men who admired her charm and confidence. Her life changed dramatically when she met Ferdinand Marcos, a rising politician known for his ambition. Their connection was intense, and Marcos proposed to her after only 11 days. Their marriage instantly became a political partnership. Together, they crafted an image of glamour and power, presenting themselves as the perfect couple destined to lead the nation. When Marcos became president, Imelda transformed into a global diplomatic figure. She traveled the world, met kings and presidents, and represented the Philippines with extravagant elegance. She believed beauty was a political tool. Her lavish gowns, towering hairstyles, and dramatic entrances were all part of a strategy to project strength and influence. But behind this glamorous facade, the country faced economic struggles. While the Marcos family built an empire of luxury, many Filipinos lived in poverty and fear. Imelda became infamous for her extravagant spending. She collected jewelry, art, and most famously, over 3,000 pairs of shoes, which later symbolized government excess. Her shoe collection became legendary. Reporters who entered the palace later said it felt like walking into a museum dedicated entirely to Imelda's feet. Imelda argued that her collection reflected national pride. She claimed that presenting beauty to the world was part of her duty as First Lady. Despite growing criticism, she continued to build cultural centers, theaters, and grand buildings projects she believed would place the Philippines on the global stage. These projects were expensive, and many citizens felt the money could have been used for food, healthcare, or rebuilding poor communities. Still, Imelda maintained her glamorous lifestyle. She traveled with large entourages, wore diamond-studded gowns, and insisted on luxury wherever she went. She believed that the Philippines deserved to be represented with beauty and elegance, even if the majority of citizens were struggling to make ends meet. As protests grew in the streets, the Marcos family's wealth became a symbol of inequality. Imelda's shoes turned into a global metaphor for corruption and excess. By the mid-1980s, the government faced enormous pressure. Citizens demanded change, transparency, and an end to the lavish spending of the ruling family. In 1986, mass protests known as the People Power Revolution filled the streets. It became one of the most famous peaceful uprisings in modern history. As the uprising grew, the Marcos family realized their rule was collapsing. They prepared to leave the Philippines under mounting public pressure. In a rushed and chaotic escape, the family boarded planes to Hawaii. They carried dozens of suitcases filled with jewelry, cash, and valuables. But there wasn't enough room for Imelda's massive shoe collection. Thousands of pairs remained behind in the palace, soon to be discovered by the world. Photos of the abandoned shoes shocked people everywhere. They became proof of the extravagant lifestyle maintained while millions lived in poverty. In Hawaii, the Marcos family lived in exile. Although removed from power, Imelda remained confident that she would someday return to the Philippines. She often said she had been misunderstood, insisting her actions were meant to uplift the nation, not to enrich herself personally. Over the years, Imelda faced numerous legal battles. Courts investigated corruption, hidden wealth, and the misuse of public funds under the Marcos regime. Despite these accusations, she maintained a loyal group of supporters who admired her charm, charisma, and unwavering self-confidence. In the early 1990s, she finally returned to the Philippines. Her arrival surprised many, but she quickly returned to public life with bold ambition. Imelda even ran for president, though she did not win. Still, her presence remained strong in politics, culture, and national debate. Her family gradually regained political influence. Her son, Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr., rose through the ranks of government positions. Imelda often appeared at public events wearing bright dresses and pearls, looking unchanged despite the decades that had passed. To some, she was a symbol of corruption. To others, she represented resilience, glamour, and an unshakable belief in destiny. In 2022, her son Bongbong Marcos became president of the Philippines, marking the family's dramatic return to national power. With her son in office, Imelda's legacy resurfaced. Supporters celebrated her, while critics warned that history was repeating itself. Throughout her life, Imelda believed she had been chosen for greatness. She often spoke about a divine mission and a destiny she was meant to fulfill. Her confidence never faded. Even in old age, she remained poised, glamorous, and entirely convinced of her place in history. To understand Imelda is to understand contradiction. She was both admired and despised, elegant and excessive, powerful and controversial. Her story raised questions about leadership, accountability, and the dangers of unchecked power wrapped in glamour. Despite decades of criticism, Imelda insisted she had lived a life dedicated to beauty, hope, and national pride. She claimed that beauty could heal a nation, that presenting elegance to the world was just as important as economic strength. But many Filipinos remembered the poverty and fear of her husband's rule, questioning whether beauty had ever been worth the cost. Imelda often responded to criticism with a smile. She believed optimism made her unstoppable, even when the world disagreed. Her legacy remained complicated. Museums displayed her shoes, documentaries analyzed her power, and her name sparked debates worldwide. For some, she was a historical villain. For others, a misunderstood icon who fought for beauty in a difficult world. In her later years, she withdrew from the spotlight, but continued to influence Philippine politics from behind the scenes. Even in old age, she attended public events with elaborate dresses and jewels, as if time had never softened her love for grandeur. Her personality remained larger than life, dramatic, expressive, and deeply convinced that she had always acted with noble intention. Imelda's philosophies, often called Imeldific, emphasized optimism, luxury, and the belief that beauty could reshape reality. She once said, "I was born to live a beautiful life." To her, beauty was not superficial, it was a form of power. Critics argued that this pursuit of beauty allowed corruption to flourish under her husband's dictatorship. Supporters countered that she promoted culture, architecture, and international recognition for the Philippines. The truth, as always, lay somewhere in between, a mixture of ambition, excess, charisma, and controversy. As decades passed, Imelda's public image became almost mythical. She was no longer just a political figure, she was a symbol. Her shoes, once a private passion, turned into artifacts studied by historians, journalists, and curious visitors from around the world. Some saw those shoes as proof of corruption. Others viewed them as reminders of a unique, extravagant era. Imelda lived long enough to witness her family's political comeback. It was a return few could have predicted decades earlier. As her son rose to power, Imelda once again appeared in the public eye, smiling proudly, as if destiny had finally proven her right. Her story challenged the world to question how beauty, power, and influence intertwine, and how they can shape a nation's destiny. Imelda often said she lived for love of her husband, love of her country, and love of the beauty she believed it deserved. But history judged her differently, revealing the consequences of unchecked ambition and lavish rule. Even so, Imelda remained defiant. She believed critics focused too much on the shoes and not enough on her vision. To her, each pair of shoes represented a moment in history, a step she had taken on her journey toward what she believed was destiny. Her life became a blend of myth and reality, wealth and struggle, ambition and downfall. Imelda Marcos stood as a reminder of how power can captivate, corrupt, inspire, and destroy all at the same time. She once said, "Perception is real, truth is not." The statement captured her approach to life image above everything. Whether admired or condemned, Imelda left a lasting mark on global history, a legacy impossible to ignore. Her life encouraged deeper reflection on power, who holds it, how they use it, and what happens when society finally demands answers. As she aged, she often said she had no regrets. She believed every choice she made brought her closer to fulfilling her purpose. Whether this purpose was beauty, power, or legacy remained unclear, but Imelda never stopped believing in it. Her story lives on in history books, museums, and political debates, reminding the world of the complexities behind charismatic leaders. Above all, Imelda Marcos became a symbol of ambition, extravagance, resilience, and the enduring power of public image. Her life invites us to ask a final question. Does beauty shape power, or does power shape beauty? Imelda believed they were one and the same.